Hi Roomies, it's Roma, and today we're going to do another video where we're taking some time to go out of the house. I like the out of the house videos. So today we are going back to Bassett and we're going to look at some different sofas and beds. They are more of a traditional style furniture company. They do have some contemporary things too, but I thought we'd look at some sofas and some beds and just talk about the different styles of sofas, why I think your sofa is important, and why if you're thinking about buying a sofa, you would spend a little more money on that piece versus some of the other things, and just give you some different ideas that you might not be thinking about when it comes to looking for these specific pieces. So let's just come on in and take a peek and see what we find. So I think we're going to start in the back and just take a look at white sofa because as you know, those are my favorite, but I thought we'd look at that and just do some comparisons. Also just talk about why I like white sofas, I guess, and then look at the style of that sofa and then compare it to different styles of sofas or sectionals they have here. I love these chairs. Just take a look at this white sofa. It's not white like mine is. It's a little more off-white, but I really like designing the larger pieces of the room with a more natural color fabric, and then bringing in the color from either art or pillows. And the reason why I do that is because I think if you have your sofa where it's in a larger primary color like an orange or a blue or green or something like that, I think it's harder to then design around that. I also think too, as your tastes change or you move to different places or that sort of thing, that green or orange or navy blue sofa will probably not be either in style anymore or not be your taste anymore. And will also, I think, be harder for you to sell it. If you're gonna then try to, sell it on Facebook Marketplace, there aren't gonna be too many people probably looking for that orange sofa. So if you're thinking about adding some other color options, I would do it with pillows or art. And I also think that when you do that, your rug selection, for example, and your pillows that you add are bringing those colors, and that can sort of support the color story that you're trying to bring to your space. Then it's easier than just having that large colored piece of furniture. If you want to do that, you are more than welcome to do that if that is your style. Me personally, unless the client specifically requested something like that, I would not design specifically for that. The other thing I like about this sofa are the lines. I like the really clean lines of it. It's very simple. I think this would fit a lot of different styles and a lot of different homes and that sort of thing. It is somewhat traditional with the sort of shape of the sofa itself. It could also lean a little more modern and contemporary with the lines where the sofa arm over here is a little more rounded and more narrow, and it's straight edged here. We're going to show some different types of sofa styles and sofa lines and the arms, and just paying attention to those things, because I think sometimes when you're picking out a sofa, not a lot of people pay attention to that. But the nice thing about a company like Bassett is they do have a lot of different choices that you can go into and look at a rolled arm or a straight arm or a sloped arm or something that's a little more traditional. You can also change the fabric. So you can get fabric like this sort of linen chenille type blended fabric. They also have performance fabric where it resists stains a lot better. They also have leather. And so there's all different sorts of things when you're shopping at a different type of store that's not necessarily a big box store, where they can customize your furniture a little better or a little more to what you might need for the way that you live and your family lives. That is a benefit of shopping at some place like Bassett, where you can change up those fabrics and change up the styles. And then it is a little more expensive, but I also think in the long run, if you're spending that money, it's a sofa that you're gonna have for a long time. I think when you spend the money on something like that up front, then over the years, I don't think you feel as bad as spending that sort of money, because it lasts you a long time. I think the sofa is probably one of the things that you should splurge a little more on. I did make a video on things you should splurge on and things that you should save on. And one of the things I talked about, the splurge would be the sofa. You sit on it a lot. Your family sits on it a lot. You cuddle up and watch movies. Some people have dinner on their sofa, that sort of thing. And so I think you spend a lot more time on it. And so you do want it to last a lot longer. You don't want to have a sofa where you've had it for a year and you can see where all the butts have sat there because the cushions are all squished in and it's covered in dog hair and all of that sort of thing, and the fabric is so cheap and the sofa is so poorly made that in a year or 2 years you have to get another one. I mean, we have a sofa that we bought from another company. And we've had that sofa for 10 years. You could look at that sofa and never known we've had it for 10 years, but the quality of it is really good, and the way that the construction is and the way the pillows are wrapped and those sorts of things. That's what makes sofas cost so much, is how they're constructed. And it's not something you want to spend a lot of money on year after year or 2 years after. You don't want to just spend it 2 years and then get rid of it. So I think when you pay attention to those sorts of things and know what exactly to buy and how to buy it, which is why you should hire an interior designer, because we know all those things, that is a benefit of that, is it's their job to sort of steer you in the right direction on what to buy and how to buy it, and so that your sofa lasts a long time. So we're going to take a look at this and a couple of other types of sofas they have in here, and just show you some of the differences of the style and the fabric choices and those sorts of things. And that way you can get an idea of what you may like and how you might want to style your home. So we're going to go over here and take a peek at this other sectional and just talk about some of the differences. Like this sofa, for example, the back of the sofa is a little lower, so it leans to be a little more modern. And then the back of the sofa over here, the back of the sofa is a little higher and the arms are slightly different, just so that you get an idea of some of the differences in the sectionals and why I think it's important to sort of take time to go into a store if you can and view the different things and sit on the different sofas and all of those and just see what you might like better, what might fit your family better, what might sit better to you. Also too, taking into consideration the amount of space they take up and the visual weight that they might have, because just looking at the sofa, for me, even in the color that it's in, this is also motion furniture too, which is different. It's also a nicer set of motion furniture because it has the hidden buttons and all of those things that I kind of like. But the other thing too is weight. Visually, this feels more weighted simply because of the color, and the size of the back of the sofa is a little higher. And so if you were one of those people that likes a little more support on your back, this would probably be one of the sofas that I would suggest. Maybe not a motion sofa, but with a sofa that has a higher back. The other thing that is different from this sofa than the white sofa that we sat on is the seat depth is also different. And so what that is this part of the sofa where you're sitting from edge to edge. So there are different depths of the sofa. Like my sofa at home is 4 feet deep, and so it supports under your legs a little better. And so my friends that are a little shorter, when they sit back, their feet sort of kind of dangle like a little kid. And so it's a pretty comfortable sit for me. I'm about 6 feet, but I can still touch my feet to the floor. And so some people like a sit like that. And so some, like me, I do like to sit a little further back. So if this was a little deeper, you don't want to give away too much. So if this was a little deeper, then you'd have that deeper sit where your feet were a little more elevated. So it feels like you're sitting more in like a chaise, I guess, where the seat is deeper and your feet are sort of up higher than if you're just sitting on the regular sofa. The other thing I like about this too is it is comfortable. I mean, this is a nice, comfortable sitting sofa. I don't know if this is the, yeah, this is the recline part for this. So this section reclines. And so it does give you that added depth that you might be looking for in a sofa. The headrest also seems like it goes up and down too. Yes, so you can move this forwards and backwards. So the next one we're going to talk about, I think, is there is a leather sofa here. There is this one over here. Let's just go to this one because it's closer. Just to give you other options of fabric that you might like. This is a leather sofa. I don't think this is, this looks like it's also motion. And I think a lot of people like the leather because of the durability of it. You also want to check the grains of your leather too, because sometimes it looks leather and it might be durable, but there are different levels to leather, like there are to fabric, which will help the leather be a little more scratch resistant. So if you have pets or kids, that's something I think you want to think about or look at, just so that as you know, your kids climb on top, or if you're one of those that you like to sit on the sofa with your dog, if the dog is jumping up and down on the sofa, you still want it to be durable, where it's not going to be scratched up from them climbing up and down on it. The other thing that's different from this sofa that was from the other sofas is this is more of a rolled arm, which leans a little more traditional, where the other arms were either a straight arm or a square arm sofa. So that's something else that I think when you go and look at sofas that some people don't pay a lot of attention to. I think they sort of see it and go, oh, I kind of like that. But I also think it's a good idea to walk around and sort of peek and look at different styles of things. You might be traditional, but you also might find something that's a little more contemporary that has some of the other things that you like the higher back or the deeper sit or a different fabric. And so going into a store that offers those things, and also having a designer that can help you, are one of the ways that you can see all of these different options, or at least be alerted to those options and be sort of introduced to those different options that you may not have thought were available, that you also may, you know, grow to like, or that you didn't know you like, and you sort of then see it and then go, oh, okay, I do like that, and these are the reasons why you like it. The other thing I like about a square arm versus a rolled arm is if you have a square arm, you can usually sit a drink on it a little easier. You can sit your coaster down and sit your drink on top of it. Harder to do that with a rolled arm sofa, but I do understand the sort of appeal. I think some people that like a rolled arm, it's sort of nostalgic for them because that's the sort of sofa they grew up with when they were at home. It is a specifically traditional style for them. Those types of sofas, so I do understand the appeal of it. Just for me and how I design things, I enjoy a sloped arm, and I also like something that's a little more sculpted, a little more straight arm, flat, but that's just how I style. That's just what I like. So if you go into a store, then you can see all the different things that you like and you can see the differences. I think it's a good idea to do that when you can. So the other thing I think helps when you're thinking about the design or the shape of your sofa is how the shape of the arms or the shape of the back or the shape of the I guess even the cushions relates to the other pieces that you select. So if you're doing a sofa, like I mentioned, that has more of a straight arm, try to break up some of the angles of the straightness with some of the other pieces that you will add into the room. So maybe look at a rounded coffee table or an oval coffee table or a different shaped side table, and not all squares, so all of the angles are the same. So you don't want to have a square sofa and a square side table and a square coffee table. You want to try and blend those shapes together, because then it just feels more curated. And it also gives the look a lot more variation, where they're not all the same size, the same shape. And so that's another thing that you want to think of too. So when you're doing like a squared arm, so then look for a rounded coffee table, or if you do a rounded rolled arm sofa, then you might want to do a squared coffee table, because then it sort of breaks the shapes up. So think about that as well. So I thought I'd come over and take a look at something that's a little out of the box. So even for me, this is a little out of the box, but I like it. And the reason why I do like it is if I was to choose to go with a sofa that was a different color or different texture, I would try and do something like this because of the stripe. A stripe leans more classic and it leans more traditional, and so it also leans more, like I said, classic. So it's something that is going to last for a long time. A pinstripe, which is what this is, has been around forever and ever. It's been suiting pinstripes, and so this is something I think that would blend well together, even if it is a different color. The other thing I like how they did this is also how I would do it, is to add the color from the stripe to sort of tone it down a little bit. So how this is a neutral color, it sort of keeps it from being so busy and overwhelming. The other thing that they added too is I do like the texture story that they have with the pillows that have the different tassels, and how this is bouclé, teddy bear, bouclé fabric. And it just gives your eye something else to enjoy in the room. It gives your eyes something else to rest on. It also just introduces another fabric and another color story. Even though these are the same color, changing the texture makes it appear like it's a different color, even though it's just a different texture and fabric. It just gives it a different change. And so that's the other thing that I like about it. This sofa does sit deeper, so my legs are lifted off the floor a little bit. So I do like that. And so the sofa does sit a little deeper, which I like, because I do have longer legs and I do like to sit back on the sofa, which I think most people do. This is a slightly higher back than the white sofa, but not quite as high as the motion furniture sofa that we sat on. So this, I think, is a perfect sort of in-between size, where you have a nice sit where the seat is a little deeper, the back isn't quite so high or so low. This is kind of, I would think, the perfect sweet spot if that is kind of what you're trying to judge. I do feel like I can sit back and lean back and be comfortable, and not feel like I'm slouchy or falling down or can barely sit up on the floor, on the sofa. I don't feel like I'm sitting on the floor. The other thing that's nice too is you can cuddle up with a little somebody. So there is more room for you to sit on the sofa and sort of have a conversation or be cuddled up and watch a movie. And it is deep enough to where you can probably sit a good, 3 or 4 people. If I wasn't trying to lounge out, you could probably sit a good 3 or 4 people on the sofa and still be comfortable. I do like the arm style on this. It's a little more rounded arm, but it's not sculpted like the other arm where it's rounded over. It's kind of like a bolster type of arm. And so I do like that. It gives it a little more casual feel to the traditional. It's not as traditional style as that rolled arm. So I could see this in several different fabric selections and different colors, where this could fit in a lot of different sort of spaces and work. And so that was the other reason I liked it. And it just was a little different. It wasn't a solid colored sofa, but I think the stripe sort of gives it a little something that I still can, I don't know, relate to in a way. Like I said, traditional isn't my true style, but I do enjoy this because it is different, and I think the pinstripe and the different color sort of adds to that. So I could see this in a lot of different sort of spaces, working in a lot of different spaces, especially if you could change the fabric. And so you might see it in the stripe and go, oh, I hate that, but you like all the other things about it. Again, one of the nice things about going to a company like Bassett, where you can see the different sofas, is you can also select them in a different fabric. And so if we get some time, I can take us over to the different fabric selections, and you can look and see what different choices you would have, different options you would have, and how you can customize the sofa to fit you and your family the best. By the way, secret tip that you might want to think about when you're going furniture shopping is have a list of questions to ask your either designer. If you hire a designer, you can ask them these questions, or your designer should know to ask certain questions, or ask the sales representative or the in-store designer that they have. Just ask the construction of the sofa, how it's made, the different sort of fill that they have in the cushions, because how the cushions are filled, either with down or a down alternative or foam or whatever, will make a difference on how the sofa feels. Also, if the sofa cushions are, sometimes they have sofas where the cushions are attached to the sofa. I always think that that's a bad idea, because I don't think they wear as nice. Also too, if something were to happen to the cushion and you needed to have it replaced, it's easier to replace this one cushion instead of having to replace the whole entire piece of cushion because it's attached. Also, how these are on the inside, I won't unzip this because she just took all the time to zip all these up. They were doing inventory, so I don't want to unzip them again. But how the pillows are wrapped on the inside, if they're individually wrapped inside something, or if the fill is loose, also makes a huge difference on how the sofa feels, how it sits, also the price point and the longevity of it. So those are questions that you want to make sure that you jot down and ask your designer, or you make sure that you ask when you go in to the store and just talk about, you know, how's the sofa constructed? What is the fill made from? Can you get this sofa in different depths or different sits or different heights? Also too, sometimes you can change the foot on the sofa, and so you can get the sofa in a different foot, so it will actually be higher or lower, or change the style of the foot. So if you get it where it's more of a cinnamon bun, is kind of what I call them. They're bun feet is what they're called. So you can change the footing and make it look a different style, either a bun or square or peg, or different sort of things that you can change out just to help fit the different style of the sofa that you're looking for, or the different style of that you like, either more traditional or more contemporary. So those are things that you should try and think about asking too, and that will just make your sofa journey, I think, a little easier. Just having a lot of questions answered, so then you feel more confident about the purchase that you make. So I thought we'd end this little segment over here and look at a sectional for a change. And this, I think, is how I think most of us think about sofa shopping. Because you're usually looking for a sofa that fills a larger space, can hold more of your family, probably for a family room or a TV room or something like that, where you have more areas to sort of sit, more areas to sort of lounge and lay around. There's definitely enough room for you and your family and the pets and all of those things to sort of sit up and cuddle up and watch a movie, or talk about your day, or read a book and enjoy the weather if it's raining outside, all of those things. So that's what comes to mind when I see sofas like this, because that's usually how you use them. The thing that I like about it is I do like the lighter color. I do like the depth and the sit of this sofa. It is pretty deep. You can sit back on it or lay on it. I also like how they switched up the textures. I'm a big texture fan when it comes to sofas, and so I like how they have this sort of rougher textured pillow with the pattern, and then they've sort of softened that a little bit with the leather, and this is a little more distressed leather. I like that. And then they have this that sort of is the same family but just a different shape. This is more of a lumbar shape. The other thing I like about the sofa is how they've added all the different textures and interest with the different pillows. So I like how they have this sort of rougher texture here with this pillow, and then they've sort of softened it a little bit more with this distressed leather. And then I'm sure these are the pillows that probably come with the couch, are these, but you sort of just change the look of it, the feel of it, by adding the different pillows. And I think it's easier to do that sometimes when you have a neutral base to start with. And that's usually how I design. I like to design with contrast, but then the contrast can come from the different things that you add, not necessarily from the large piece itself. You could do that if that's what you want to do. I like it, like I said, if a client specifically wanted that, or if the design called for that, sure, I would do a navy blue sofa or an olive green sofa or a bright orange sofa or something like that, because the design called for that. But in general, I would probably do something like this and then add the texture story or the color story from the pillows or from the art. The other thing that, like I said, I like about this is I like the depth and the sit. It's very comfortable. It's a little more firm than some of the other couches that we sat on. And again, something you want to talk to your designer or the in-store designer on the different fills, because the fill is what makes the sofa sit different or feel different under your butt, I guess is the easier way to say that. The way that this cushions are filled or what they're filled with will change the feel or the sit of the sofa. It is comfortable, don't get me wrong, but it is a little more firm. And if that's what you like or what you want, then that's great. The other thing I think too that helps this too, if it's a little more tight or solid feeling, is it doesn't look so messy, so that you don't feel like you're having to clean this up and straighten it up every time somebody gets off of it. So like if I stand up off of this, there's not gonna be a whole lot of fixing I have to do with that. So if there's everyone's favorite cloud couch, where it's the down-filled cushions and they're, very sort of squishy and stuff. Well, yeah, that's great and it feels wonderful, and don't get me wrong, that is a beautiful sofa if that is your thing. But the other thing about that is it never looks as nice as it does in the magazine when you get off of it and you're constantly fixing that sofa all the time to get it to look pristine. If you want to spend all the time doing that, great. I'd rather not. So there are some advantages and disadvantages to that, just like there are advantages and disadvantages to this kind of sofa. You could probably get this in a different fill or a sofa that looks like this in this same sort of configuration with a different fill. So the benefit of being a sectional is you get to choose each piece. The sofa then is styled for the room that it's going in. And so you configure each piece for the different style of room that you might need it to go into and the size of room that you might need it to go into. You can definitely add more to this if you had a larger room, or if you had a room where you were trying to double the size, where you needed this to back up against another sofa, you can add this more to this sofa. You could also take away from this sofa. So that is the benefit of a sectional. Another tip I wanted to give too, I know we were focused on sofas, but as you see how all of these straight lines and angles are there and how they've sort of added this round table, coffee table, that was one of the things I was talking about. So when you have things that are a little more square, when you go to pick your other choices, you want to look at the shapes of the furniture, the other furniture that's going into the room as well, and sort of break that up. The other thing too, when you're thinking about choosing a coffee table, is when you do have a sectional, a round coffee table works better because it's easier for you to sort of move around the coffee table and everyone to sort of move around it if it's round versus if it's square. And it just, again, gives your space another element, another shape, another soft area to sort of look at. So it would just feel a lot heavier, I think, if it was just a bunch of hard edges against each other, where the sofa is squared edges and the coffee table is squared edges. Having this round piece softens it a little bit. So just things to think about when you're choosing sofas. So the last thing I think we're going to touch on is fabric selection. So again, one of the things that's the benefit of going into a furniture store and choosing your own furniture piece from custom design is you get to choose each piece. So you can choose the sofa fabric itself, and you can choose your different pillows in different colors and add them to the sofa. You also get to see how the fabric sort of looks and feels and matches together and all of those things. So I think it's just one of those benefits of going into a furniture store if you can do that, versus just, you know, seeing furniture online and picking it. I also think you are then able to really see the pieces that you like in person, and I think then you feel a little more reassured that you're getting the thing that you ordered because you went in and you picked it out and sort of selected all those pieces, versus the color online and the size online and those sorts of things may not be exactly how it looks when it shows up. But if you've seen it in person and taken the time to look at it, then I think it gives yourself a little more reassurance that you're actually buying the right thing. So we're going to take a peek at those, and I'll show you some different options, and we'll talk about the different kinds of fabric and those kind of things. So the first thing I thought we'd touch on is the different design options that you have in shapes and sizes of your pillows. So this is one of the things that when you are coming into a store like this, as you meet with either the in-store designer or your interior designer, is you come in and you can choose the different sizes of the pillows that you want to add on to your sofa. The other thing you can do also too is talk about the different fills in your cushions, and so that's another benefit. So like this is a square pillow, but you also have, this will come in different sizes. So you have these different sizes here. So there's a 25-inch, there's a 20-inch, and a 16-inch, and these will be pillows that you add on top of your sofa. And so that just gives you some different variation on what you can add, just to change the look and customize it to your own. You can do the same thing with round pillows. There are also these lumbar pillows. They're calling them kidney pillows, but they're the same thing. They're just lumbar pillows, and they have the little detail, which is kind of nice. And so those are things that you can add, just the different trim and the different size and the different style, just to change it up and really make it your own style and your own just look. And these are bolsters, which are different. So you could add these either onto the arms, sides of the sofa, or the back of the sofa. So it just gives you other options. I'm sure these are different wood selections, probably for the legs of your sofa, where they could come in different sort of tones, and you can choose the different wood tones to get your legs from the sofa. So again, when you're able to go into the store and choose the fabric and choose the pieces that you want, it just makes it more your own. It makes it less big box and less of what someone else is getting. You're not cutting and pasting it. It is actually your own. It does add to the cost, but then again, it is something that you're going to want to hold on to for a while anyway. It's not like you're going to want to buy a sofa one year and then get rid of it and buy it another year. That's not really cost effective, and that's not normally how people buy sofas. But again, it just lets you customize it and make it your own. And so these are different fabric options that you can have. The thing that's nice about this is you can get, let's say you did want a green sofa, you could get your sofa in this color, and then you can add some contrasting pillows in a different fabric. So it's kind of nice to come in and look and see what sort of options you have, and that way you can mix and match and choose what you like. Again, it just gives you other things that you can choose from, other variations, make it your own, also make it the style that you like, and also just the color scheme that you're looking for different rooms or different areas in the house. You know, it's just a way to add personality and color and infuse those things into your design. I love a good zebra print something. And that concludes today's video. I hope you found that information useful. I really hope that there was some educational part of that you found useful when you go out and buy a sofa. I hope this helped sort of give you some, I don't know, I guess just things to think about when you are making that purchase, because it is one of the most expensive things you will buy for your home. I think your sofa and your bed, I think, is probably one of the most expensive things you would spend the money on in your home, especially the living room. And so I hope that this sort of gave you just some insight on different styles and different things to look for, the different ways that the sofa feels when you sit on it, the different depths of the seat of the sofa when you sit on it. And I also hope it gives you some idea on why they are so expensive or can be so expensive, because there are different things that go into the sort of construction of the sofa. And so I do appreciate Bassett letting us come in and do that today. This video is not sponsored by Bassett, but they have let us come in previously and do some other things, and so I do appreciate the time that they let us take from their day to come in and shoot the videos like this, and so it is really appreciated that I am allowed to come and do that. It's also nice that they're close to where we live, and so when I do have design clients, I can bring them here and show them different options if this is something that they like. Of course, there are other options that I can show them too, but there are certain clients that really want to be able to sit on things and feel certain things and help with that selection process, and so this is a place that I can bring them to where we can do that. So again, I hope this found you some useful information that you can take with you, and as always, I look forward to creating with you. Thank you so much.